value to you and to your industry. So let's start with it. So yeah, about the Indonesian IoT market itself. So how big is actually the Internet of Things in Indonesia? So we do have the what we call it as an Indonesia IoT Forum. This council actually have estimated that until 2022, forecasted to be around 400 million devices will be connected in Indonesia, which is actually a very large number, almost 1.8 double than the multiplied by the current cellular population in Indonesia. So which is actually beyond the cellular connectivity itself in Indonesia. And it is estimated that the market value is valued to be in 444 trillion rupiah, which is mostly will be there in the content and application, which is very important that us, Sigfox in Indonesia, we provide the networks and the network itself. So let's not focus on the network, because let us do the network, let us provide the network for you. Then let's do roll out the application of the IoT itself within industry in Indonesia, because we have such a large market share to be sharing with all of the industry here. That's the main interesting part for the Indonesian market itself. So if we talk about the IoT, now we will see it as the rise of the Industry 4.0. So we've heard about the Industry 4.0 since a few years back. In Indonesia, indeed, it is, we've been hearing about the Industry 4.0 since, I think it's around 2014 and 15. But what is actually the Industry 4.0, and does it happening here already? Yeah, what we can say, the Industry 4.0, we can say that the digital transformation itself in an industry can be defined as an integrated production process based on an automation information. So the information was generated to automate the process of the production itself. So we've seen in the late 1800s, the revolution of industry was happened, which is mechanical revolution, continued with the electrical revolution starting in the 1900s. And then starting with the 50s, we already start to 50 to 70, we have seen the revolution in the automation itself. And then start in the year of 2000, we are expecting to see more integrated information, which is driving the production process. This is what we call it as an Industry 4.0, how we can connect between the information from the things or from the production tools, from the demand, from the market demand, to go to the production process, which is the manufacturing process itself. But this is one of the things that is happening at the moment. So since the February, in Indonesia itself, in Indonesia, we start to hear about the COVID-19 in the late of February 2020, and then as soon as after that up to now, there has been quite a very challenging times for us here as well. We believe in also in the other part of the world. So as well as in the industry scale, it is also suddenly decreasing a lot. So in terms of the industrial output, the sales of the retails, and then even the consumption of the fuel or coal for the production in China, as well as the tourism, which is one of the key factor industry in Indonesia, also decreasing largely due to these pandemic situations. Now, not only for those areas, including with the smart manufacturing, or what we call it as the Industry 4.0 itself. It was forecasted by the Information Service Group to be valued around $214 million until $350 million up to 2025, and suddenly starting in 2020, it's fall down until $180 million. So there has been a lot of changes due to these situations. So how we in the industry actually be able to respond to this situation of COVID-19? Some research from the McKinsey actually showing that there is one of the clue happening in China, which is where they start to reopen the first time. Well, the main issue, one of the main issue in the industry there was how we can maintain the production level while the outputs, while the returning worker to the workplace that they have worked before is actually not the same. So if you can see, even when 75% of people have go back to work in China in around of March, actually there is only less than 25% actually people who actually work in the same place as they worked before. So you need to train again, you need to leverage all of your new resources to maintain your production level. This has been one of the challenges in the industry, how to maintain our production outputs. So based on this, actually, the research from the McKinsey showing that the only answer to the industry is the digital transformation itself. There are 4 key elements that to be defined in the transformation, which is the new data resources. That's which is actually how we can generate more data out of the industry, out of the process itself, and then start the automation. The second step is to start the automation by doing it continuously in the automatic ways, to maintain the production outputs. And the third one is how we can generate a new algorithm, a new concept, what we call it, let's say in Indonesia, we call it as a new normal. That's something that we need to be adapted with the situation of the industry. And the final one is actually to provide as many access of information as possible. That's why we need an ubiquitous access. So we can have, any industry can have actually multiple source of information. So then the information can be used for the productions. So now we start with the Sigfox itself. What is actually Sigfox? What does Sigfox actually provide? Well, we call it, Sigfox, we call it as a zero-G. This is not like we go back to the old ages, like going back, because now we are talking about a 5G. Now Sigfox is saying about zero-G. Zero-G is not about that. Zero-G is not going back to those times. We actually we try to complete the picture of the telecommunication transformations. So before we start to talk about the first generation, second generation, third generation, actually there's still part that we can do with those limitations in the very early stage of the telecommunication networks. We can use it because it is actually also needed in these times of modernizations. So this zero-G is actually completing the picture of the telecommunication transformations. So Sigfox is actually a network, a zero-G network that is focused on serving the massive objects of communications. So we heavily focus on the objects, not focus in the multimedia streamings or multimedia applications, or even with the people, with the human interactions and things like that. But we focus on the objects itself, massive and public object, how it can be communicate with the others. It can communicate each of the objects itself. So that's what we are focused on in the Sigfox. And then in terms of the technology, we are based on what we call it as a LPWA, or low power and wide area technology, which with this technology, we can enable the long device with a battery life, low cost, as well as high network capacity and long range coverage area. So if you can see the picture on the left side, which is the age before the Sigfox, how we can actually communicate between all of the objects through any modes of communications, Bluetooth, LTE, Wi-Fi, or Zigbee, or anything, and then transform into a single standardized globally Sigfox network. So we can have the advantages, of course, with the Sigfox, we can have a global reach, as well as the energy efficiency, and then the simplicity of the deployment itself and cost itself. So from there, let's see how the Sigfox has been doing up to now. Yeah, this is the statistic until the January 2020. So Sigfox now already present in the 70 countries around the world. We have covered more than 5.3 million kilometers squares, which is actually 5 times larger than Indonesia itself. And then we have covered almost 16 million of devices. And then we are managing the almost 24.6 messages sent per day, which is actually, that's why this is how we can prove that Sigfox is a global massive objects communications. We manage a massive objects communications. So now we talk about the advantages of the Sigfox itself. In Sigfox, we call it as a 4 pillars. There are 4 key elements in Sigfox why Sigfox is different than the other. Well, the first one, of course, Sigfox is global and reliable. So since it's a global network infrastructure, so we only manage one contract within one network. So if you travel within one country to the other country, from Indonesia to Hong Kong to Singapore, as well as from Singapore to Indonesia or Hong Kong to Indonesia, it's standardized globally. So it can communicate easily, seamlessly, without any roaming schemes or other steps on doing the communications. And then it is as well as reliable, which is we manage the network with a very high quality of services, because IoT with the quality of services is we need the reliability. Let's say put a small simple example. If you put like a smart sensors in your house to detect if any if there is any other thief or something like that, but then for when there's a robbery in your home and the sensor is not actually sending the right messages, or it's not even sending any messages, then you don't have any reliability. Then what's the point of having an IoT solution within your applications? So this is what is very critical, that reliability, we manage the very high quality of services in Sigfox. And Sigfox itself being an ultra narrow band network, we are very highly resistant to the interference and jamming and so on. The second point of the 4 pillars is simplicity. So again, since we are a centralized system, global centralized system, there is no need of pairing and other configuration if you are traveling beyond border. And simply communication in Sigfox, we don't have any specific protocol or connectivity. So any industry can actually communicate easily using based on the existing device, or even if you want to modernize your industry tools. Yeah. And the third one is the low energy itself. So most of the time, since Sigfox is a low power network, so basically most of the time Sigfox devices are in a sleep mode, which is running on the battery. We only transmitting small messages, only 12 bytes of payloads, and then few messages. We are limiting the communication messages per day, about 140 messages per day. And also there's a smart operation between the network and the device, because we don't do like it's a very independent communication infrastructure within Sigfox. So the final one is the overall of the total cost of ownership, which is actually at the lowest. Why is it at the lowest? Because in Sigfox, we openly sharing the device API. So any manufacturers can actually start to manufacture IoT solution based on their technology, which is making us as a user or as the customer have multiple options of the device to be used. And the second one, of course, the network itself. We can guarantee there is no other network that can be commercially can be compared with Sigfox, what Sigfox can offer in terms of the providing IoT connectivity. So, and then because we are actually having a centralized system, which can be a lot more competitive in terms of the sharing the connectivities. And then the third one is the integration itself. We provide a comprehensive API to the IoT platform provider as well as the IoT application developer. So with this of standardized yet open schemes, the industry can have multiple options that can create the ecosystem to be a lot more competitive in terms of the cost. So now about the Sigfox Indonesia itself. So in Indonesia, we start actually in 2019 with the company names of PT Kirana Solutions Indonesia. So we basically Kirana Solutions Indonesia, or we call it as a brand name of Sigfox Indonesia. We provide the IoT network infrastructure in Indonesia nationwide. And then we initially launched on the February 2020. Yeah, it is very unfortunate for us because right after the launch, we are facing with the pandemic situation. So that's something that has been a very challenging times in Indonesia at the moment. So due to that, we now covering the Jakarta and Bandung area. So we have now covered the whole Jakarta city, the main capital city. We have covered every single corner in Jakarta, including now we are already deploying to connect Jakarta and Bandung, which is in the West Java. Until 2022, this is our plan of rollout. So we are planning to cover the whole city, the whole country with the Sigfox network. Of course, based on these rollout plans, if there is any specific demand and then specific request that we may have some prioritization in deploying our network. So this is how we would like to take. This is our one of the flexibility offer that we are trying to offer to our customers. So instead of waiting until the network is ready, tell us if you have a specific demand for your applications, then we can talk. We may have some prioritization to your applications. Okay, so again, back to what actually Sigfox provide. Sigfox Indonesia provide. We in Indonesia provide the network itself. So we provide the communication-based infrastructure, communications. So we put the object data or the device options to be open. So any of our partners and our customer may have all of the luxury to be the Sigfox partner, Sigfox customer. They can pick and based on the solution that may be suitable for them. So any of object data can be selected by them. And the network, that's what we provide. These three columns with the orange, with the cream color, with the cream color. And the last one, the analytics platform applications, IT applications for the users, are all become one of the options of the because this is part of the strategy how we want to build the ecosystem in Indonesia. So we cannot do anything. We can do from all end to end. No, our business model is a lot more to take people to collaborate, take partners, as many developers to co-jointly to provide the IoT solutions in Indonesian industry. So that's become our main points on providing the services in Indonesia. So based on that, we believe the ecosystem of IoT ecosystem in Indonesia has been growing very largely. So start from the semiconductors, distributors of the components, makers, device makers, IoT platform. This openness has been a very strong point of ecosystem that we are trying to build in Sigfox. So again, together with this webinar, I'm trying to encourage all of the partners, investors, or the customers to be part of the Sigfox ecosystem. Let's co-jointly to develop the IoT ecosystem in Indonesia. So based on that, IoT for Sigfox is not only about the hardware or even only about the data, but for Sigfox, it's about the services itself. How our services can provide a very new value for our customers, even if it is a cost reduction value, or even creating a new value for our industry, how we can generate new opportunities and new business models based on the data that is provided. This is what we are trying to offer with the Sigfox technology. So in Sigfox, we cover almost in all industries, from the retail, from the retailers. We can tracking the many returnable packaging access for the retail industries. Transport and logistics, even is tracking, temperature tracking, or even consumers, home alarm, and then swimming pool water monitoring, smart buildings, or even public sectors for governments, bank and insurance as well as for the utilities and energy. Utilities and energy is a very sexy industry in Indonesia. This become one of the new segment that is being very focused for us in Sigfox Indonesia. And then the industry itself, logistic industry, manufacturing industry, being one of the part that we are very heavily focused on. The final one is the agriculture as well. This is 9 lines of the industry that is Sigfox have actively taken part into it. So before I close my short presentation about the Sigfox itself. So there's a very interesting report from the McKinsey about how we can actually industrial IoT improvement is needed by the industry during this COVID-19 situations. There are 3 themes, which is how we can resolve or helping industry to resolve their problems due to this COVID-19 and to return to and resilience to go back to the on their feet to start the industry, and also to do the reimagination of the new reforms. So there are so many use cases that can be done with it. I believe Deepak will be sharing a lot of interesting solution and application use case based on the SpaceAge Labs rEye device, a very powerful device to do the industrial IoT modernization, modernizing the industry itself, even from workforce tracking, remote asset controlling, waste reductions. All of this can be done with the rEye, I believe. So that's it from me, Deepak. Thank you very much for all of your attention. I'll be glad to sharing the material, and let's continue in the Q&A sessions.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks so much for that. I think there are some questions already in the Q&A. We will take those at the end. Maybe right now, let's move to my presentation, and then we can do that. All right?
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right. So that was Andy speaking about Sigfox and Sigfox Indonesia. I think he gave a very good background on why IoT is important and what is Sigfox and what are the potential applications. So my talk will be a bit more application or technical maybe. But before I get into that, I just wanted to introduce SpaceAge Labs and what we do. So we are in the business of helping enterprise customers connect their remote and distributed assets to the Internet of Things. And we focus on low power wide area networking technologies, and Sigfox is one of them. So we not only make the devices which are compatible with Sigfox, but we also have an application or IoT software which can receive data from these devices and do various things as we will see. So we are based out of Singapore, and we have an engineering office in India as well. And our engineering capabilities are everything from electronics to mechanical engineering to firmware engineering, but also on the software side, including machine learning and data science. So we bring together a team that can provide the full stack of expertise. For myself, I previously worked in the oil and gas industry, water industry, and industrial automation business, primarily working with sensors, instrumentation, and control systems. Now we call this industrial IoT, but that instrumentation was what it was called for a long time. And I love working in the intersection of hardware and software. And that's why I started this company in 2016. So since then, we have worked with quite a number of customers, both on the public sector side and the private sector side, in multiple verticals, including water, industrial, oil and gas, and facilities management, and so forth. So we help them connect their remote assets to IoT, and then use the data to give some insights or help them achieve some business case. So these are just some of the recognitions that we have got and some of our key partners, and definitely Sigfox and all its network providers like Sigfox Indonesia are a key partner for us, where they help us in providing the connectivity, while we focus on the devices and the software part of the IoT value chain. So I think it's time for another quick poll. A lot of you said that you have already deployed or looking to deploy IoT solutions. So I just wanted to understand what might be the key challenges that you have when you deploy IoT solutions. So let me launch the poll. And just like before, I would like you all to vote. So there are 4 challenges I have mentioned here. One is you are not sure whether wireless connectivity, whether Sigfox or otherwise, will be available there. The second is it's very difficult to integrate device, connectivity, cloud. There are so many things. It's very difficult and time consuming. Or you want the solution to integrate with your existing system, whether it's your building management system or your SCADA system or some other software that you have. Or fourth could be manpower, right? You don't know where to start and your team does not have the expertise to do this. So yeah, so maybe another 20 seconds, maybe if you can reply, then we will have an understanding of what the key challenges are. Okay, another 10 seconds. Those of you who have not voted can choose one of the options. Okay, I think I'll just end the poll now and share the results. So as you can see, I think it's spread across well in all the 4 issues regarding deployment. And I will, through my presentation, I will try to show how we are trying to solve these issues or these challenges when it comes to IoT deployment, right? So before we get into what products we have to offer, I just wanted to set forward some context of what digitization is and how IoT, AI, data science, everything fits into this scheme of things. So everything starts with a desired business outcome, right? So our customers come to us, they have some assets or some processes in the field. So it could be a river, it could be a freezer, it could be a truck, motor pipe, depends on the industry. And they want to monitor it for some business outcome. And we will see what those outcomes would be. But usually IoT is the first mile of digitalization or digital transformation. So IoT uses sensors, communication, and some platform to get the data of the asset, whether it's condition data or location data, in an easy to process format, and then passes this to algorithms or softwares like data science, AI, ML, to use the data to generate some insights or actions or visualization that help you achieve your business outcome. So for today's purpose, we are focusing on the blue part, which is the IoT part. So within that, communication has been spoken about by Andi, and I will speak more about the devices and the platform and how you can connect your assets and get data easily from them, all right? So there are 3 primary reasons why people do IoT or digitize from our experience. One is peace of mind, to know how your asset is performing or where it is at any point of time. I think that is a key motivator. Second is to use the data and to predict failures or to predict anomalies in advance to increase uptime of your process. So sensor data driven predictive maintenance is probably the second reason. And third reason is reducing costs, right? Like now, because of COVID, it's very expensive to send people out. You have to follow procedures and train them and so many things, which Andi showed in the McKinsey report. And it's probably much cheaper to deploy digital solutions to do a lot of the menial tasks, such as data collection, using technology rather than manual labor. So these are some of the fundamental drivers across industries that we observe. So to solve this issue, we came up with a platform called remoteEye. So it's a complete, meaning it's device connectivity and cloud. It's sensor agnostic, which means you can connect different kinds of sensors to this platform. And it's very easy to use. So there's no programming involved at any place. So this is designed for the operations maintenance team or the system integrators who quickly want to deploy solutions without spending too much time integrating it. So how does it work? So on the very left-hand side is your asset that you want to monitor, right? And then you connect it to our devices, which are capable of reading the data coming from these sensors or machines, and then translating that into, say, Sigfox protocol and sending the data to the cloud. So what the cloud does is it receives all the data from the devices. You are able to manage all the devices in the field. You can manage the data that is coming. You can store it. You can analyze it or run algorithms on it. And then you can either build dashboards to visualize it, or you could even send notifications to your phone or to your WhatsApp to get informed of something that is wrong. And all of this can be done by you in an easy to use format. And of course, we have APIs as well for you to integrate. So how does it work? Let's look at an example, right? So if you are in a facilities management use case and you want to monitor many things like energy monitoring, water monitoring, maybe you have some pumps or motors you want to monitor, but you don't want 10 solutions or 10 platforms for 10 use cases. So that's where our solution comes in, where it's a single kind of hardware and a single piece of software which can do all of these use cases, right? And you can, if you already have some sensors or meters, we can connect those meters to our devices and read the data from them and transmit it. So you don't have to again invest in those sensors or meters. And I'll explain how this is achieved, right? So before we go into the hardware and the software part, I think Andy has given a good introduction about Sigfox, but a little bit more technical information. So within Sigfox, there are multiple zones, and most of the countries in Southeast Asia and large parts of South America, the ones in the orange color, are part of something called RC4, so zone 4. And it's defined by the transmission frequency, which you can see it's around 920 to 922 megahertz, right? So that is the frequency at which the radio transmission happens. So from SpaceAge point of view, we are focusing on this zone as of now and want to really support all our customers and our partners in this area. So in terms of connectivity, we have heard from Sigfox Indonesia, but within the other countries like Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Australia, Hong Kong, you can see the different network providers who run the Sigfox network and who we work closely with, right? So the first challenge which was in the poll was getting good connectivity. So I can assure you that we will work closely with all of our network partners in Sigfox to ensure that you have connectivity at your project location. So that's about connectivity. Next, coming to the device, right? So what we have is something called rEye or remoteEye IoT adapter. It comes in 3 different models, as I'll speak about in a while. But what it essentially does, it's a wireless transmitter, right? So you can connect different kind of sensors to this and then convert the sensor data into Sigfox packets and transmit it to the cloud. So this supports, we support multiple types of sensors. We'll see in a while. It's certified by Sigfox as class 0, which means the highest radio performance for Sigfox devices. It is designed for long battery life. So it is possible, depending on the use case, to go from anywhere from 6 months to 5 years on inbuilt batteries. The devices are waterproof and dustproof. These devices also come with inbuilt Bluetooth module. So you can use our mobile app to do all the configuration. So you don't have to put any USB, do any programming to configure these devices. And then everything is pre-integrated to the Sigfox backend and to our platform. So as soon as you turn on the device, you have the data coming onto the platform. So as I mentioned, it comes with a mobile app to do all the settings. So you might want to do the sensor settings, or you might want to do network settings. For example, how many times you want to transmit the data, whether you're just sending data from device to the cloud or back. So all of this behavior of the device can be done using this mobile app. So anyone who knows how to use a simple mobile app can use this to do all the settings. Now coming to the sensor part. So as we spoke, we do not make the sensors. So we make devices which can talk to other sensors and read the data. So in the industry, there are many kinds of sensors, depending on the use case. You might be measuring flow, temperature, it might be a meter, it could be water quality, level, pressure, X, Y, Z. But how do we connect this to IoT, right? So there are two ways, right? There are two kinds of sensors. So there are sensors which give out wired output, or there are sensors which already come with inbuilt wireless. So if you look at the current industrial market, most of the sensors are in this category, right? It's where they are primarily wired outputs and three categories, which we'll see in a while. And this is where our device comes into play. So our device can read data from these wired sensors and then transmit it over Sigfox network to the cloud for processing. So you can think about it as a protocol converter, right? It is connecting the OT protocols or operational protocols into IT protocols. So that is fundamentally where our device fits into the entire scheme. Now, if you look at sensors, there are different kinds of sensors which give out different kinds of outputs. So it could be, and if you don't know them, it's fine, I'll explain in a bit, but it could be serial communication, analog, RTD, digital, many different kinds. One of the examples is Modbus. So Modbus is a communication where you can connect multiple sensors to the same master device, which is our device, and then read data from all of them and transmit it to the cloud. So for example, if you use our Modbus device, you can connect not only say a flow meter, but also say energy meter to the same device. We also have options for some other sensors, like a leak sensor or a door sensor, which you can connect. So a single device can be used for multiple use cases. Similarly with analog signals, so these are like level sensors, pressure sensors. So they give out a continuous signal, which is either a current signal or a voltage signal, which we can read and then transmit it to the cloud. It could be temperature probes, right? So these are industrial temperature probes, which can, industrial temperature probes, which can be connected to our device and the data can be sent to the cloud. It could be water meters, which give out pulse signals, which are on and off signals. So we can use this to measure how much water has been consumed. So there are so many different kinds of sensors that we can connect using this device. And it really depends on your application on how you want to use it. But what is common across all these devices is that they're waterproof and dustproof. They come with long battery life. So approximately 30,000 transmissions on a single battery charge. But we do have option for external batteries or external power supply. And as I mentioned, you can either transmit it over a fixed time interval, say every 10 minutes I want to transmit it, or you can write some basic rules on the device. Say if it exceeds a certain threshold, I want to transmit. So you can do that as well. So there are two modes, right? So once the data is captured from the device and transmitted over the Sigfox network, it goes to our software platform, right? Hang on, yeah. So it goes to a software platform called the rEye IoT Cloud. It is hosted on Amazon's infrastructure as of now. So it's secure, scalable, and highly available. You can start with one device, or you can go to 10,000 devices very quickly, right? And I think someone just asked whether we can handle third-party devices. So yes, we can integrate third-party Sigfox devices or any other devices into this platform, right? So that gives you a single view of not only our devices, but other devices as well. It is available in two packages, enterprise version and basic version. So if you have multiple projects or multiple customers, then you can use it to manage all of those. So we will look at some features as we go along. However, the platform is available primarily in 3 interfaces. One, you can use a web application, so it's a browser-based application, or you can use a mobile app, which we have, or if you have your own software, we can integrate through RESTful APIs to your software. So quickly some key features of our platform. We can manage all the devices that are on the field. You can have a look at what is the battery life, what is the signal strength. You want to do some updates to the device. You want to download the data in CSV. All of this is possible through this. And you want to visualize the data, whether it's in maps or other forms. It's easily available to do that. We have some standard dashboards available, such as metering. If you have meters connected, then you can just quickly launch a metering dashboard to view the data in that format. If you want to send notifications over SMS, email, or WhatsApp, you can do that using this platform very easily. You can choose who you want to subscribe to, and then for every data point, you can set a rule and send notifications. In terms of visualization, we have a widget-based dashboarding system so that you can build your own dashboards depending on your project, and each maintenance person or each operations person can have his own view of the data coming through. Apart from that, we have, if the device is moving, then we also have GPS visualizations as well as geospatial visualizations. So it really depends on what the use case is and how you want to use the platform. For people who want data on their mobile and when they are on site or on field, we have a mobile app which is available on Apple and Android, which you can use for quick visualization of data in the field. So how does it work? So there are 3 steps which simplifies the entire deployment process. Step 1, you connect the sensor to the device, right? Simple. Step 2, you use the mobile app to do all the sensor settings and the network settings. Step 3, you add the device on the cloud and you're done, right? So the process is very simple, and anyone who can follow instructions can do this. So how does this fit into if you have existing systems, say a DCS system or a SCADA system? So these are legacy systems in industrial environment that you have. So what I would say is, if you don't have this, I would recommend IoT because it simplifies the data collection process. But if you do have SCADA and you want IoT to coexist with it, there are ways where you can have parallel systems like this. So the sensor could be connected to SCADA, but also to the IoT platform. The PLC could be connected to SCADA, but also to the cloud. So there are ways of coexisting between existing systems and the new IoT systems. So we have some ready kits available as well if you want to quickly deploy. So we have a kit for temperature monitoring where we provide the sensor, the device, the connectivity, the cloud, the batteries, everything together. Similarly, for energy monitoring, we have this. We have it for water metering. We have it for water quality. So if you're interested to get started and you want everything from the sensor, please reach out to us and we can provide the entire kit for you. Maybe I have another 3 or 4 minutes to quickly go through some of the deployment or use cases. From our point of view, we primarily focus on outdoor assets or assets which are distributed, right? So because laying cables or wires is very difficult in those scenarios and you need wireless solutions. So there are many cases within water and wastewater, from the water supply side to the water catchment side to the wastewater side. There are many use cases, and I won't go through each of these, but you can go to our website and have a look. Similarly with cities and buildings, and some of these Andy had mentioned already, which we can do. And then of course the industrial side as well, right? So maybe I'll quickly share some photos of how these systems have been deployed and what are the use cases. So in this use case, we are monitoring the water consumption in a food manufacturing plant where the water meter is connected to our device, and we read the water consumption data and send the data to our software. It could be for energy meters as well. So in this case, we have connected energy meters to our device, and we are reading parameters like current, voltage, energy, to either understand the consumption or to detect any faults or anomalies that might have happened. It could be used for things like leak detection. So you could connect leak sensors to the device, and whenever leak happens, it would trigger an alert, and this would be sent to the cloud. This is a use case in a theme park where, such as a zoo, where they have a lot of water exhibits, and they want to monitor the water level or other parameters for the water tank. So in this case, you can see the level sensor here, and the level sensor is connected to our device, and we are able to read the data and transmit it to the maintenance team. It could be for water quality, whether in the river side or on the sewer side, which can be used for various parameters like conductivity, pH, turbidity, and so forth. It could be for underground sewer networks. So we can monitor the velocity, flow, level, and you really need to monitor your sewer system properly, because if you do not, it can lead to conditions where it will overflow and damage the infrastructure around you. It could be to monitor an equipment such as a motor or a compressor, where you want to measure the vibration, the current, the temperature, and then send notification or do a prediction of when the equipment is going to fail. It could be for weather or air quality monitoring. So indoor air quality or outdoor air quality, you can just connect this air quality sensor to the device and send that. So I've shown you so many use cases, but what I'm getting at is that it is a single platform for multiple applications. So you can start with one use case, but you can build many use cases as you go along. So you start small and then expand. The second challenge, if you remember, was how do we integrate everything? So we have solved that problem by providing you the full stack. From the sensor to the cloud, everything is pre-integrated, so you don't have to worry. It retrofits into your existing systems and assets, whether on the hardware side or on the software side. So it really helps you to reduce disruption to your existing operations or process. And fourthly, availability of networks. So a Sigfox network and other low power wide area networks will be around for many years, because these are newer technologies. And if your project is for 10, 15, 20 years, you can rest assured that these networks will be available. So this is how we solve these problems. Apart from the ready products that we have, we also can design specific IoT devices if there is volume. So we can customize the rEye IoT device to your specific requirement. And just to conclude on how do we position SpaceAge Labs within the ecosystem. So there are companies who provide hardware, there are companies who provide software, and there are companies who provide services. But we truly believe that the intersection of all of these three is required for a truly end-to-end IoT company who can support customers well. And that is how we see ourselves. And with our positioning in Singapore, I think we are well placed to support customers in the Sigfox RC4 zone and work closely with you to ensure that you can solve your problems in your businesses. So I think I'll stop there. We'll take some questions now and see how we can move forward, right? So Andy, maybe we'll look at the Q&A. Let's start. So the first few questions are on Sigfox.
Sure.
So one is, how does Sigfox compare to LoRaWAN?
Okay, that's great. So how does Sigfox actually compare to the LoRaWAN technology? I will try to share a little bit about the Sigfox in a technical way. But let me start with this before I start my technical explanations. But what makes it different between the Sigfox and the LoRaWAN? If you talk like if you talk like with this example of like LoRaWAN, this is something, the main crucial point maybe, if you look into like a standardizations of a global standardizations, Sigfox is actually from initially was there to provide global communications with the standardized quality and the services that is provided for the massive public or massive objects communications. But while the other side from the other technology may come actually in a sense that how it can start to reconnect with the other wirelessly, as simple as that. So if you look, the other technology may look into more a private communications network, or where you can call it as private area network. The other one may come as a global, or you can call it as a wide area networks. So I'll be trying to share a little bit about that, how we can say that we are actually Sigfox, yeah, and actually be seen as the okay. So this is basically what makes it very different between the Sigfox and the LoRaWAN. So the Sigfox is actually, we provide a massive and high quality services for massive object communications. We have three schemes of technical which is not belong to the other technology. The first one is the ultra narrowband technology itself. So the other one may actually be configured as a wideband technology instead of the narrowband. While the other hand, we Sigfox try to provide with a standardized ultra narrowband to increase the capacity of the network itself. The second point, what is made different is the frequency and the time diversity. So in terms of the communication between the objects to the network, we technically Sigfox actually using this way of diversions between the frequency and the time domain. So we try to provide the reliability from here, from this technique. We know that by trying to diverse the frequency of sending the messages in the multiple frequencies, as well as trying to sending the message in a few different times, so we may get a chance of having the reliability a lot better than we just send it once, and when we fail, then we lose it. So this is one of the second way how we can manage and actively provide a massive object communications. And the third one, the final one, is the spatial diversity. The spatial diversity is actually when we try to see, when I try to say that Sigfox base station is actually independent. So each of the Sigfox base station is not communicating to each other, meaning is totally independent. So whenever one of it is actually, let's say, being blacked out by the power itself or being anything, the other network may still be survived, and then the sensor can actually be covered more than just one base stations. So one sensor can be actually covered at least 3 base stations, 4 base stations, or even up to 16 base stations, based on the coverage of each of the base station that is surrounding. So the main difference between the Sigfox and the LoRaWAN, I think this is one of the key points, which is Sigfox belong to the massive objects communication with the high quality of service and reliability, while the other one may come actually in a sense of giving an object wireless communications start from the small environment like a private area. That's, I think, for me for the first questions. So. Okay, I'll start.
I think there's another question: is Sigfox using star topology?
Okay, Sigfox uses star topology communications. As I mentioned before, actually Sigfox is not indeed between the device and the base station, we do use star topology communication. So many of the devices is actually communicating to one base station, but each of the base station is not actually communicating to each other than in the back end, so independently in terms of base station to base station communications. Okay, let's continue with the what is Sigfox target market? Oil and gas, factory automation, process automation, hotel, traffic. Well, basically, as I have shown in my slides, previous slides, that we actually provide the our application is actually across all of the industry applications. We've heavily focused on providing the network, the connectivity that is suitable for the massive communication for objects, as well as the high reliability and QoS of communication. So in that sense, Sigfox is not really focused in each other of the industry, but we try to be reliable for any of the industry that may be needing the Sigfox connectivity. So that will be our main focus at the moment. So how and where Sigfox can play part in the Industry 4.0, seeing the limitation of the transmission is 12 bytes. Okay, this is a very interesting because okay, there are two things that I want to try to say. The first one is how big the actual information that we actually need. If we see an Industry 4.0, well, we may want some information about the location itself, the assets locations, or even the data reading of the temperature itself, or the humidity, or the the condition of the environment for the telemetry, or any of those things. Well, based on those applications, actually the data is very small. It's actually less than 12 bytes. For example, like GPS locations, it's only like 6 bytes for one single latitude, longitude, and radius, which is actually less than, which is within 12 bytes, we can actually send 2 data into one data package. So it's the same like in the temperature or in the scale of the RPM. The data is actually very small. It's less than 2 to 3 bytes. There's nothing more than that. So 12 bytes in a sense is actually still very more than sufficient to provide the data. And then from there, even if you have a larger scale of messages, you can still actually parse it into few messages instead of putting it in one messages in the one single transmissions. And the second most important part, I think you, Deepak, have shared to the how we can actually deploy the IoT solution even in the existing systems, like with the SCADA systems, like what you used, like what you showed before, or even in the new and modernization initiatives for the industry. We can do it both. So due to for the easiness of the implementation, I think Sigfox and the rEye IoT application is having a lot more benefits in terms of the easiness of the deployment. I think that's how Sigfox can actually roll in the Industry 4.0 with those 12 byte messages.
Yeah, I think let me also just quickly answer those questions, because from my point of view or our point of view, you really have to look at what the need of the application is. And any one technology cannot solve all the digitization needs. Sigfox, as Andy mentioned, is a 0G network, and it is focused at solving some problems, right? How can we transmit small amounts of data in an energy and cost efficient way? So there are a lot of use cases which we also see where Sigfox is very ideal. Another benefit of Sigfox is that a device going from Sigfox from Singapore to Indonesia seamlessly transitions. There's no roaming, and so there are benefits around. And I think we did not go into everything, but I would recommend you go to sigfox.com and deep dive into the various benefits that are available, or you can always speak to us as to what are the various solutions that we are deploying. And of course, I mean, if you want data every second or every millisecond, then low power wide area networks is not the way to go. But there are many applications where you do not need such high bandwidth of communication. And I think that is majority of the IoT applications that we see in the market. So I think that answered the questions about the industrial applications. There were a couple of questions which I've answered by text. One was more about our devices. One was whether we can connect third-party devices to our platform. Answer is yes. Can we connect our devices to third-party platform? The answer is yes. So we are modular because we understand different customers have different requirements. There was a question about can we send data from the devices directly to our cloud bypassing Sigfox backend? I don't think that is possible, but Andy, if you have some answer.
Well, maybe let me put it this way. Let's assume Sigfox as Sigfox backend is more to like a switching system. If you talk in the sense of telecommunications network, let's put the backend as a switching system, because basically we didn't do anything with the data itself. We barely just get the data out of the base station and send it over to the destination port. So basically, that's as simple as that one. But how to bypass it, that's because this is one of the critical when we become a global service operator for the IoT, because we need to integrate all of the networks so that it can communicate to anywhere in the world. So like what you said, Deepak, if Singapore want to travel to Indonesia and then to exchange the data in Indonesia or the other way around, of course, the data switching should be there in one of the infrastructure, which is Sigfox backend. So let's just put it that way. That's what the Sigfox backend actually role. So you don't have, in terms of the security or the data verification or anything, we can do all of the security sessions that you need, but in a sense that how it will be sent, that's something that we need to do by sending it through the Sigfox backend.
I think nobody has asked this. Maybe let me be devil's advocate and ask some question. So maybe can you give the audience an estimate of how much it would cost per connection? Maybe in terms of US dollars, if I have to connect one device to Sigfox, how much would it cost?
Okay, for more like a retail services, we will demand for annual subscriptions, which is it will cost around about $15, rate in the rate $15 per year, yeah. So it will be about $1.2 per month. So and then it will be also varies in depend on the volume itself. So yeah, in that way, if we talk more into the volume schemes and the other, I think we will have a better proposition for that one. But compared to the other one, for the single retail connectivity, we also can do that, but it's in a very low, in a very simple package like annual subscription, like what I told you before.
Yeah. So maybe just to add to that point, what SpaceAge Labs does is we can package the connectivity with the full solution. So we can buy, say, from Andy, bulk connections, a lot of connections at a good price, and pass the benefit on to you as part of the full package. So if you're looking, if you don't want to get involved in configuring the Sigfox backend, you can speak to us. So we can help you with that. Otherwise, if you have your own global connectivity plan or contract, you can use that as well. So both options are available. Another question I think a lot of people might have, but haven't asked is, if I have operations in Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, who do I buy connectivity from? And how does the billing happen? So for example, if I buy from Sigfox Indonesia, a contract for say 1,000 devices, can I deploy in Malaysia a few devices? And will I have to pay separately, or how will it work?
Okay, so basically within the Sigfox operator, we do have this kind of small, kind of not small. I mean, this is one of the things that why we declare as ourselves as a global operator. For sure, that one, let's say if you subscribe to Sigfox Indonesia and then you want to you want to deploy your network and your devices in Singapore or in Malaysia, yes, you can still deploy your network, and you don't need to subscribe again to the local Sigfox operator. Once you already subscribe to the Sigfox Indonesia, then you can already operate within any range, any region with the Sigfox coverage. So you don't need to have another subscription. Let us do the rest. We will finish that up with our colleague Sigfox operator around the world.
Okay. Yeah. So I think there was one more question to me. Can remoteEye platform integrate into task management systems, ERP, CRM for effective service management? So the answer is yes, and we have done this, but this is primarily available in the enterprise package. So in the basic package, you just get simple APIs. But if you want these integrations and these connectors, you will have to subscribe to our enterprise version. I also just want to take the opportunity to mention that if you use our enterprise version, you can white label the platform. So you can have your own branding. Sometimes end users want to have branding, or the system integrators want to do that. So those options are also available. And we love working with system integrators because you guys know your customers very well. You can help us deploy the solutions on the ground. So if in the audience, if there's any system integrators around, please reach out to me afterwards. And I think we would love to work, whether it's in Indonesia or in any other countries.
Sure.
So are there any other questions?
I think there are some questions in the chat, Deepak. Okay. So let's say for this one from Mike, is there any workaround for areas which is not covered by Sigfox, notably in China? Well, in terms of Sigfox, we try to, China is definitely one of the country region that we are trying so hard to push to get info, to be able to communicate with Sigfox. But for the time being, you can actually also use, there are some solutions with the transceiver model that have integrated Sigfox and the IoT. That kind of model may also work with for this device within the area that doesn't have any Sigfox coverage. And then for I think from Yifeng, you already mentioned about that, Deepak, and from Tony about how about the device can be integrated with the rEye from the LGAS.
Yeah, I think I'll have a look at the data sheet later on. But I think if it's a standard device, I think I just opened it. Yes, it has RS485.
It has a serial communication interface. It should be able to communicate with the rEye definitely.
Yeah.
And then, some part I think you already answered the questions. How many register it is done, and
I think thanks for all the questions. I think we have exceeded the time as well, but I think this was good to answer some of the questions. So after this session, you will be receiving an email with our contact addresses. Sure. So if you have any questions for Andy or me, you can send us an email, and we will be more than happy to support you, right? Sure. Thank you everyone for attending this webinar. We might do this on a bi-monthly basis with different partners and different applications. So I look forward to seeing you at the next webinar as well. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Deepak.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Sure.